Jeff.
Thank you, Minister. Many of the themes that Alyssa's spoken about came up in ours. I won't repeat those as such. We also had a very diverse group, and so what I want to do as faithfully as possible is to distill the themes and the observations of the group. We've got the full record out there on the butcher's paper. The first thing, I guess, that was obvious in our group was the complexity of the issues. Even taking accountability as a principle or a value or an outcome in itself, accountability operates at the level of the accountability of the system, its ability to deliver agreed outcomes, the ability of the system to re-engage the community and properly consult. There's also levels of accountability around processes, for example, the environmental impact assessment process, accountability of decisions and the framework in which those decisions are made, and how you this didn't come out of discussion, but this was part of the introductory comments, how you achieve that consistency of decision making, for example, when whatever the body is that's making it, whether it's a pack or whatever, what principles are going to flow through out of those decisions. And also the accountability of the Act, which being recognised that that's just part of the planning system, but that people can understand it, that it's comprehensible, and that there's appropriate checks and balances in place. A lot of the discussion we had originally was about this process, and that it needs to be clear what the purpose or the point of this was, and whether it's a blank slate that people are going to be consulted on, or whether what is up for grabs will be made clear to people, and also the way that people are consulted. People were asking questions about how will they be involved? What are the opportunities? Do they simply go along to these workshops? Can they email? Can they be involved in discussion papers? And I'm sure the government and Tim and Ron are beginning to think about those things, but I think that will be clearly an issue which will be of concern to people. I'm not sure whether this was consensus or not, but there was a view that did come through strongly that consultation needs to be reframed and rethought. Certainly needs to be done better. It's recognised that the way we do it at the moment is not good. There was no sense that was a hankering for going back to 1979, but we do need to do it better. Don't necessarily need to have more of it, but it needs to be done properly, and it needs to be properly resourced to that end, and also give people the tools so they can properly consult and put that in an appropriate context. And the example given was about making it the system at the strategic planning phase more user-friendly, so that people have, for example, 3D images of what their community or what their state or what their region might look like, rather than just the kind of plans and so on. A fairly strong view that consultation needs to be a two-way process, not only at the decision-making stage, but most of the feedback seemed to be that the main issue there was at the planning stage, that there would be a lot of work done on the ground, and then the state government, for example, would come along and override all those endeavours and indeed the goodwill that had been generated around those endeavours. There was a clear need, recognised need to set the framework properly in these processes, that it's clear what's up for discussion and how the information is to be properly captured. There was also a clear sense, I think, that when we're talking about transparency, accountability and inclusiveness, that whatever the rules are, that they must apply to all the players, those players in both the decision-making process but also at the planning process as well. I guess a by point in that regard was that really people wanted to see planning taken seriously, and the examples given were that too often councils were trumped in the work that they'd done. There was also a little bit of discussion about the need for serious effort to engage the community early. We've spoken, I think, just about every speaker has mentioned the need to get it right at the strategic planning phase, but there was a lot of discussion about, well, that's great, but the practice of that is that people do not get engaged as a rule until the point in which you are talking about developments that are of immediate concern to them. So I think those are and also I couldn't, in all honesty, faithfully deal with all the issues, but just to give you a sense of some of the other issues that were raised. There was an issue around marrying commercial interests with community consultation, that in many respects the commercial imperatives were already built into the system by the time that the system needed to go out and consult with the community, so a real need to work through that and how you'd resolve that. And also concerns were raised about the integrity of the environmental impact assessment process, but we certainly didn't come anywhere near to resolving a consensus around how that would be resolved. So yeah, very fruitful discussion. Thank you.